Welcome to Deafblind Scotland's online classes as part of the Just Keep Going project. Deafblind member Anne will instruct you step by step to make your very own art project.
Hello everybody and welcome back, and this is the exciting bit. This is the bit where you can actually see your hard work turned into your own personal masterpiece. Anyway, put it this way, you could make a fortune, you'll have your own bespoke creation. Anyway, how do we get from this to this? Well, there's a couple of different stages, so I'd just like to begin with the painting the undercoat. So I'll put this bowl aside and I will show you what I've done. So the next stage would be to paint the bowl on the inside and the outside with a white paint, and that acts as an undercoat. And what I actually did was I used my squeezy paint, but I actually added a little bit of water to it, and it didn't really cover the newsprint very well. So you put on a very watery basic undercoat, then you just let it dry for a couple of hours. And then what to do is take an undiluted version of the white paint straight from the tube. I just put some white paint onto my paint palette, and you just take your paintbrush. I've already done this. You just take your paintbrush and you just touch it up inside the bowl and outside the bowl. I've already done this, but I just wanted to demonstrate that part to you. Leave that to dry. Now what I have done is I don't have a proper drying rack, so I've got one of these kind of chip things that you get for the oven, and I've just stood my bowl on that to let it dry. Again, what you can do is you can use something to raise it up off the ground so it doesn't, or off the table, so that the air can circulate, and leave it to dry. But as I say, this bowl is actually dried and done already, so I'll just leave it there. So once your bowl is dry, you go into the next stage, and you can go down two roads. You can either use a stencil, which you can make a personalised stencil, or you can actually do some freehand drawing or freehand painting. Now, given that all of us have got some kind of eye condition, I would go for whatever you would find easiest. So what I've done is I've taken this bowl and I've painted the inside grey, and I have let that dry for an hour. Then what I did was I took a colour that you don't need to mix, and this is important. It's, you don't want a colour that you've pre-mixed for this next step, pre-mixed with another colour. So your basic primary colours are your blue, your red and your yellow. And I have also got the tone, the black, and I've also got white. So what I've done is I've painted the outside of this with yellow all over, left it to dry. Then I got some birthday cards and old bits of scrap, heavy duty paper or thinnish card, and what I did was I measured with my finger, I measured the side of the bowl, and the side of the bowl roughly goes from the tip of my finger to my knuckle. And I placed that onto a sheet of card, my finger onto a sheet of card, and I marked it where my knuckle is. I just put a mark where my knuckle is. So that gives me the depth of how deep I want the stencil to be. Now, to save time, I'll show you. I've already cut out I took the ruler and I drew a line along the paper, and that gave me a shape like this. So I cut it out from the paper, I cut out the line from the paper, and then what I did was I decided on what I would like to have as a motif for my stencil. And I love leaves and trees, and I also love fish. So what I did was I drew a leaf, which I will show you. I drew a leaf, that's the leaf there, and then I cut it off my strip. It's just like I've done with the flower there. I drew it and then I just cut it off. But what I did was I drew the shape in with dark pen, and then I took my scissors and poked a hole in the middle of the card, and I folded it over so that it would be almost an equal shape, and I cut my way round till I got a leaf shape. I had to get a little bit of help to trim the edges because I couldn't cut it exact, and so I got this leaf shape. Then I held it onto the edge of my bowl, and I wanted the leaf not to go just horizontal, I wanted it at an angle, so I put it at an angle. Then I got a little bit of masking tape, and I stuck the masking tape at the side of the stencil like that, and that's in order for the stencil to be held firmly, sorry, that's the wrong way round. That was for the stencil to be held firmly in place, and I just gently stuck it to the rim, because on the inside of this was the grey colour, and it would have been difficult just to stipple it in again, the grey, although I did manage it. And what I did was I took the brush, and now it has to be a hard brush, not a soft brush like a makeup brush, but a firm horsehair type brush, and I dipped it into the paint and I painted inside the stencil. So I'm actually going to do one for you now. I've done two here, so I'm just spacing out roughly at a thumb space between the leaves. So I'm putting a thumb space, and I'm going to place the stencil at an angle and just put a tiny bit of the masking tape over the edge. It's not sticking on the inside. And then put the paint out that I want, which is this lime green. These were a pack of cheap paints out the pound shop. Just squirt some of the lime green into my paint palette, undiluted, and then don't saturate the brush, just dip the brush in and out very quickly, so that and then if there's too much paint on the edge of the brush, dot the excess off. The stencil must be firmly flattened against the surface, so the masking tape is holding it in place in one part, so it's acting like one of my fingers. So hold the stencil down firmly at one end, then if you can't, you'll have to use more masking tape. Because it's a single colour, an unmixed colour, if it takes the paint off, you can always touch it up. Put the masking tape down there to hold the stencil firmly, as flatly against the bowl as possible, and then stipple. Do not paint, because if you paint, the paintbrush might slide under the stencil and you'll not get a hard line. So I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but I'm stippling it. Now there's bits of yellow still showing through, so I'll add a bit more. Then you can always check by lifting the stencil and you can see that it's come out really well. Oh, my little bit of a masking tape went over it, but there's the leaf that I've painted. When your stencil is dry, you can always add additional marks using pens or paintbrushes. I personally would prefer to use a pen, so all I'm going to do is put a very quick central leaf and vein motif on my leaf, and that just gives you an idea of what you can do, like so. Now, if you wish to do different kinds of motifs, there's no end of designs that you can think about. You could have personal names, personal dates, family members, loved ones. You can even do a Valentine's love heart on the edge of one of your bows. You can do a design that's related to hobbies. For example, if it's a pet, you could do a paw print. You could even put musical notes if it's somebody that's interested in music. Somebody's interested in travel, you could maybe do coloured flags. Or what you might like to do is just do simple designs by drawing freehand. I've drawn out some simple designs that you might want to do on the sides of your bow. Or if you don't feel confident in drawing designs, what you can do is make up stencils using different motifs. I have made a stencil of a flower. I've used the edge of a piece of paper and just dipped the paper into paint, and then just put vertical marks and little dots, and that gave me grasses. And then another idea would be to draw little round circles close together and make a bunch of grapes. But the choice is endless what you want to do. Another idea I had, because I love fish, the outside I made fish on, and then what I did was I got some gems, some little sticky on gems, and what I did was I chose coloured gems, but I felt they didn't quite match the colour of my bow, so I put a little white gem in for the fish's eye. And my fish motif was just a straightforward fish shape, but then what I did was I put a little dot of grey paint in it to make the fish's mouth. You can also make a fish design on the inside. This is what I did. I reversed the colours, the white fish on the outside with the grey background, then I had the white on the inside with the grey fish. So that is basically how you make your bows. You can personalise it with people's names, as I say, decide on it, find out what their hobbies are, what their favourite colours are, and here you have two very different bows using mixed colours or unmixed colours. So happy crafting, everybody, and stay safe and well. Goodbye from me. Thank you.